And so, this moment, knowing nothing, just being here. This moment, life in utter surrender to itself, knowing nothing, just simply living. Living openness. The simple being, open, receptive, aware, alert. Just simply being here, being yourself. The only thing that is ever important is being. There is nothing in the play that is of any importance. Quite the opposite. It's absolute irrelevance. There is nothing in the play that has any importance. It is just about being. When we come to recognize the being, we realize from this vast perspective what is truly happening here and how much energy we put on emphasizing the importance of the play of the world, how we are so lost in the play of the world, so lost in the illusion of separation. All that is needed to sustain, maintain, protect, hold, is to know the being that you are. To know the love of God. Is that your love for God or God's love for you? It is the same. The love of God is all that is needed. It is simply being your divine essence nature. It is all that is needed. The mind will never ever believe or understand it because the mind is absolutely committed, addicted to false idols. And what are those? All of the things that the me thinks that they need in the world. Approval, validation, affirmation, to be seen, to be heard, experiences, things, ideas, concepts, beliefs, knowledge. Everything that the me thinks is important is completely irrelevant. And it is just about coming to see through the dream, to see through the illusion of separation, so that we come to the essence nature, the knowing that happiness is God. Happiness is God's happiness. And when we are one with God, we are happiness. We are sustained, protected. We are full and whole and rich beyond imagining in the love of God, in the knowing of the oneness of being. And so these words come as a resonance of truth. They do not come to convince you of something. They do not come to bring more ideas and beliefs. They come to dissolve all things that are given importance into the alive, awake awareness of your own heart as God, as the heart of God. It is to align with the resonance of truth, attune to the fineness, the subtleness of your own infinite divine being. That every being belongs to the one being. Every being is whole in essence and has the spark of divine knowing inside. And when we turn to this spark of divine knowing, we open to the whole divine landscape of wholeness. We are not speaking of something that we can do. We are not offering instructions, because you already are everything that is longed for. And so these words come just to ring the bell of truth, to ignite and fire up that spark inside you into immediate, spontaneous remembering. And where the remembering is in the resonance. Everything the mind thinks is not relevant. The mind is so full of self-importance, and it's all nonsense. Just like that magpie gathering pieces of rubbish and chattering about its vast collection of goodies. There is nothing good or useful in all of the nonsense that the mind thinks is important. So stop chattering on. Stop the idle prattlings, as Ma says. Stop the idle prattlings and be free. Turn to yourself. Turn to your Sat Chit Ananda nature. Turn into yourself. Turn inside out. Stop giving importance to the desires of the me. Stop giving importance and relevance to all the details of the play. Stop being the doer and be the being, and allow doing to be God's doing. Allow grace to flow, life to live, and be that flow. Be that unimpeded flow of grace. This is what every heart is longing for. Every being that is in suffering and turmoil, despair, frustration, looking for answers in things, is longing for freedom. And freedom is here. You cannot believe with the mind that freedom is here. Can only align with the resonance, feel the resonance of truth inside your own heart, and know this truth as the truth, this truth that belongs to no one, and yet everyone belongs to it. Can get so sidetracked with mental ideas of how to live this, how to embody this, how to not bypass, but all just tricks of the mind, right? So we speak of these things because, of course, there's a relevance to living and embodying this truth on the surface of life. But if it is the mind that is concerned with such things, it is just futile, waste of time, utter waste of time. The mind trying to work out how. There is no how, there is no why, there is just what is. It takes direct words that resonate as truth to awaken what you already are inside. We cannot meander. We have not the time in this human life to meander, to take the slow path, meandering with the mind being concerned with all of its ideas about what this is. This was your last opportunity. This was your last opportunity to know yourself. How alert are you right now? How present are you right now? If you are not meandering in the mind's ideas of, oh, at some point, first got to finish this project and that project. got to take care of this, worry about this, earn a living, feed the family, all of these things that the mind is so concerned with. If this moment was the moment where grace is offered, how alert are you? How present are you? What does it take to receive the grace of truth? We have this graced opportunity in this life to awaken to the true nature and to live this truth. We do not need the surplus. We need to be the self, be the being, and live in the grace of freedom, shining as God's love, as God's happiness, as God's peace. Right? This is what we are longing for. And yet somehow the craziness is that we still constantly are distracted with our worldly needs and desires and wants, conditioned to be acting out how to get our needs met the whole time, addicted to manipulating the moment to be comfortable for the me, addicted to being right, false righteousness, right? Why? The question comes, what is needed? It is needed to be here, to be present. Why are you not living in this joy? Because you do not want it enough. That is why. If this is all that is longed for, if this is all that is longed for, then it is right here. It is right here. When the longing of your heart is held as the most precious, when you can feel that sense inside you of your longing as an urge to break free from the confinement, the restriction, the limit of separation, when you can feel that urge to just rip it all down, to rip down that facade, right? To let it all go and to not know what that means. To say yes to what cannot be known or understood. To say yes to the love of God. Feel the longing inside you as the love of God. We cannot delay any longer. We are being asked so strongly to be here, to be the living love, the wide open heart, to be the peace, to know that protection is the love of God. Cannot understand with the mind what these words are pointing to. Can only know in the truth of your heart that already knows what is being spoken of. And as you hear these words, feel the resonance inside and let the resonance sing the celestial song of silent knowing in your heart that this is the only importance. All of the dilly-dallying, concerned with the me and what I have to do and what I want it to look like and what I need and how this is important and how I might be busy doing this. What are you longing for? What are you longing for? Am I here alone, sitting in this heart? Will I continue to sit here alone in this wide open heart of God? Or are you with me? Are you with me? Or are you off, busy in the play of the world, making the important things, the things that the me wants? Matters not. It matters not. But if you are longing for freedom, if you are longing to know the truth of who you are, then hear these words in your heart and be one with me. Be one with me. Turn your face to the sun. Turn to the glory. Let go of all those ideas, projections, opinions, judgments, all of the ways that the mind is evaluating. Let it all go and be one. Be one with your own light. Be one with the love that you are. Be the being. Be one with the one truth. And know it only inside your heart. Go right inside and hear these words. Hear these words inside your heart and open as the aware being that is truly listening, listening alertly, listening as presence, listening without interpreting according to the me. How often are you truly listening? How often are you truly listening as the wide, open, receptive heart of being? How often are you listening to everything as someone that is working out, what does this mean for me? Do I like it? Do I not like it? Does this work for me? Would I prefer it this way? Am I in? Am I out? How often are you listening through the interpretation of the me, constantly looking to make the me more cushioned in the illusion of separation? It takes strong words. It takes direct words to point like a laser-sharp arrow, to pierce right into what is true. It matters not. Can dilly-dally in the play of the world for the rest of the human life. Can live your best life. Drop the body and come back again. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But if the longing in your heart is for freedom, then be here. Be here now. Be here. Be in satsang, listening as the wide open heart. Make the longing of your heart the utter priority. And watch as the mind meanders and dances in all of its ideas of what is important. Be lived as life itself, just simply living. But do not fool yourself. Do not fool yourself when you are pleasing the me. Have the honesty, the courage to have utter vigilance. To align with truth, to hear these words. It is God's love, it is God's happiness that we are aligning with. So even where there can be a sense of burning in the me, a feeling like, oh no, Oh no, strong words, direct words. Let the burning bring you to the true joy, to true happiness. Happiness is God. Happiness is God's happiness. When you are one with the God nature, when you are one with God, the divine, with wholeness, happiness is here. So feel in the heart. Feel in the heart that where there is truth, there is no dilly-dallying in the mind, questioning, asking, guilt, shame, none of that. It's just to let it be obliterated in the moment. Let it dissolve in the moment. Let the surrender into this moment be the surrender into freedom, into happiness, into alertness, awareness, being the being that you are. Being here as the wide open heart. You do not need to know how, you do not need to understand, you do not have to do anything, but surrender the doer into the being. Just to be here, here as the wide open heart, listening as the wide open heart. Stand in the true position. Here now, wide open, utterly free. It is just the remembering of who you have always been. It is remembering, recognizing who you are as the still, silent being underneath the play of the world, underneath the play of life, that there is a silence here, a stillness, the source of all. As these words come, it is just to feel the recognition, the resonance, the alignment, the remembering that who you are in truth is the infinite, eternal, immaculate being. The stillness, the silence that may seem to be in the background. As these words come, recognize the foreground as the silence, as the stillness. Recognize this truth. Feel the resonance in your heart and feel the heart bursting. Open, 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 wide open heart, unconditional love. Hear the holiness of true essence nature. Hear the sacredness of utter presence. Hear the longing fulfilled in the knowing of who you are. No more meandering, just to be here, just to be here in this moment. Has nothing to do with the mind, with ideas, with concepts and beliefs. It is to be the being and be happiness. That the happiness, the joy, the love that you are in your true essence, God, nature, is never touched or affected in any way by the play of the world. It is to turn into yourself, turn inside out. Stop being the me looking out there, the illusion of separation and the story of victimization. You turn inside out, go inside to the felt sense of being, the simplicity of being, existence itself. I am, I am, I am. Simply being, here now. Utter openness, this moment, knowing who you are in your essence nature is not person, but presence, not someone, but silence, stillness, the unmoving, unchanging, deep, silent depths that are utterly peaceful. Stillness, presence, unmoving, unchanging. This is who you are. It is just to know this as your true self. Feel the knowing of the heart. It is the felt sense of simply being. And oh, the holiness, oh, the celebration, the jubilation, the felicity of being here in the knowing of your utter freedom, freedom from personhood, freedom from separation, freedom from the illusion, clear vision, mystical vision is to feel the awakeness of your essential nature inside your deep innermost being. You are always awake to your own self, never ever away from yourself. Self, awake to self, knowing self and shining radiantly in the knowing. Here you are the vast open ocean of bliss. And as the ocean of bliss, you feel only the oneness. And you can feel your whole being resonating in the rarefied fineness, the subtlety of knowing the simple being that you are. The fine feeling of your own presence. Align with being, and being fills your whole being. You are recalibrated, recultured. It is like lying in an infinite pool of pure water as you lie and float in the infinite waters of the silent being. You are one with the purity. You are one with the frequency, the resonance of immaculate innocence. You have no edges. You have no boundaries. You are unbounded. the whole felt sense of what you are spontaneously reconfigures to the fineness of your divine nature, spontaneously reconfigures to oneness with the infinite eternal field. And here the knowing of the timeless nature, the timeless being. You are not someone trying to work something out. You are not someone having an experience. You are not someone trying to understand. You have fallen through the depths of all attempts to understand. And in the felt sense of being, you fall into the fineness of being presence, being stillness, being silence. You are not someone having an experience. All sense of someone has found its source in silence. All sense of personhood has found its source in presence, eternal presence, wide open freedom. And here the recognition, recognizing, remembering wholeness, perfection. No experience here, just this, simply as it is. Remember who you are. Remember self, that you have never been divided from the whole. Remember that you have always been one with this eternal, infinite being. Remember that you never left. Remember that you are always here. You are not fooled by the dream. You are one with God's love, docked in the heart of God, one with God's happiness, one with God's love. It is all there is. Do not need to understand. Do not need to work it out. There is a knowing in your heart that is an alive reverence. It is a reverence for everything. It is the flow of reverence, the flow of devotion, the flow of life living itself, falling into itself, surrendering into itself again and again and again. Fall in, stand in the moment so deeply that you fall through the moment into the eternal, timeless being. Be here in such a depth of presence that personhood finds its source. All sense of being, someone, finds its wholeness in divine silence. It is not about making a new plan for the me. It is not about to-do lists. It's not even about the me making an idea of needing to be more vigilant. It's not about any of that. Has nothing to do with what the mind thinks any of this is about. It is to come to the being and fall into the oneness of what is never touched by the play of the world. It is to surrender doership, enjoyership, desire, wants into what you are truly longing for in this moment. Everything is being offered to you in every moment. And there can be the constant ability to overlook the grace. Be one with what is being offered, because what is being offered is everything that you are longing for. Let go of all your ideas of how the me wants it to be. Feel the depth of a subtle perception that recognizes the resonance of truth and aligns. Be one with the being that you are. Be one. The river is moving fast. The flow of the river is moving fast. It's flowing into the ocean. It is carrying every being that is ready, every being that is right. It is carrying every being that is a low-hanging fruit into the ocean of bliss, into the wide open, utter freedom of your own heart, the recognition of your own heart. It is right here. What are you longing for? If there are thoughts that are coming, it is to watch the thoughts, be aware of the thoughts, but do not collaborate with the illusion. Be the awareness of. It is the only way out of the illusion of separation, is to be aware of it and rest here, stand here in the being. Stand here alert and aware and be taken, be carried. The river is flowing. It's flowing faster and faster and faster. We are running out of time on the surface of life. In some ways, that is a story, but feel the impetus, the motivation. Feel the divine invitation. It is getting louder. It is getting more potent. The time is now. It is only ever now. Are you listening? Are you listening from the heart of what is being offered? Are you listening from the heart to what is being offered? Do not try to make sense of these words. You will get lost. Be carried, jump into the ocean. Do not just dip your toe in. Do not stand in up to your ankles. Dive all the way into the sacred waters. Diving into Ganga Ma, diving in to the sacred, pure, immaculate waters. Be carried into the ocean of your own radiant heart. Remember, remember. There is nothing that needs to happen. Nothing that needs to be prepared. Your preparedness is this moment, the willingness to just strip it all off and dive all the way in, into your own divine nature, into divine grace. What is holding you back? What are you not wanting to leave behind? Just use this as useful information to see where you are attached, where you are hooked to being someone, and what you are truly committed to. There is no one judging you. There is no one marking your book. It is all about you and God until you know there is only God. There are no intermediaries. It is a journey into yourself. And when you recognize the way, the path disappears, the bridge disappears, and you are face to face with your divine wholeness. And you are pushing and you are pulling, and you are pushing and you are pulling, and you are saying yes and you are saying no, and you are saying yes and you are saying no, and you are saying, I'm afraid, but I'll just give it all up and I'll jump in and surrender, but I'm afraid. Just be here. Give up the story of push and pull. Give up the story of I'm afraid. Give up the story of being someone that is doing something, and just be here. And surrender is spontaneous and immediate. Just be here. Just be here. Be here and be sucked into the fire of truth. Be pulled, magnetized into the wide open heart that is ever shining in the knowing of itself. We are not here to work out how to stop suffering, how to do this, how to do that, how to deal with this, what to do about that. We're not here for the details. We are here to come to freedom, and then everything is seen from a different perspective. The only answer to every question, until you know the truth of who you are, is find out who you are. The only answer to every question is find out who you are, and all answers are here in the wide open heart. Life is just living itself. Life is just living itself. Life knows. Come to emptiness. Come to the wide open heart, the felt sense of emptiness. Come to the familiarity, the comfort of emptiness. And do not keep trying to fill the space with more experiences and more things and more wants and more activities. Be aware of the false idols. Be aware of how there is such an impetus to give everything to all of these ways, trusting this, trusting that, investing in this, investing in that, trying to get protection in this and that, all these things of the worldly, all of the ways that the mind is so invested in trying to create safety in the worldly, protection in the worldly. All that is needed is to know the true nature. All that is needed is the love of God, the love of truth, to turn again and again and again in every moment. Make every moment be like a japa, that you are just constantly moving around the mala, again and again and again. Only God, only truth, only being, only God, only truth, only being. Here now, here now, here now. Life is going to continue to live itself. You will be carried into all kinds of situations. Every situation is a flow of divine grace. Give up trying to find safety and security in the world. Give up trying to find protection in the world. Come to the depth of freedom where you do not need to know how or understand. Come to the depth of freedom of being where you are life living itself and you are utter freedom here. Float, float here in the pure waters, the holy waters of your own light. Float here in the holy waters of your own blissful purity, your own innocence, your own immaculate nature, and feel every fiber, every thread attuning to the subtle, fine resonance of being. The whole sense of what the body is changes. You are not the physical body. You are not the thinking mind. The cosmic universal nature, the divine nature, brings the recognition that what body is a divine vehicle for the self to know itself, for the divine to live. Here, aligned with the subtle fineness of being, every cell is being recalibrated. Every cell of density, of physicality is being filled with light. You may feel it, you may not feel it. It does not matter. It's all happening in the unseen. Every body being is being cultured. Every body meaning every vehicle is a divine vehicle, being cultured, being refined to receive a finer and finer frequency of your divine nature, so that the knowing can land more deeply, so that the depth of presence can be felt more finely, so that the knowing of the being that you are never ever leaves, that you fall all the way through. Let's say you fall through experience, you come to the edge of experience, and as you get to the edge of experience, critical mass, you explode into the mystery. You are the mystery. You break orbit of experience into being the vast, immaculate mystery. And here, mystical vision, clear seeing, is not an idea, a concept, a belief, or an understanding of the mind. Clear seeing is the inner lights brilliantly shining as the self knows itself. Clear seeing is the mystical vision of knowing the truth of who you are. So wherever this clear seeing is now, whether it feels like a tiny spark or a blazing fire or a huge beaming divine light that is obliterating everything else into the knowing of only this, it matters not. Be where you are, but be where you are as aware being. Be here now in the utter simplicity, stripped of personhood, stripped of story, stripped of all worldly desire. And here now the spontaneous surrender carries you deeper and deeper into yourself. And of course, if the knowing of the self is already illuminated, then light ever brighter, frequencies ever finer, refining, 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 culturing, culturing the vehicle, falling into the divine in devotion, in reverence, in love, in utter submission to the divine. When there is nothing no longer wanted for the me, you are empty, and the divine can take up resonance in the emptiness, in the nothingness. When you no longer want anything for the me, and you are not looking for the wants and the needs to be fulfilled in the external, then you are filled with all that is truly longed for. The knowing of your true nature. You are filled with divine love, divine happiness, divine peace. You look like a person, but you are a living emanation. Keep falling in. Keep falling in. Every moment in the now carries us deeper and deeper in, floating in the boundlessness. Feel that you are infinite, you are timeless. The felt sense of yourself, the felt sense of what you are in this moment, that you are boundless, you have no edges, you do not know what you are, but you know that you are. What is all that is. You have no story, you have no name, you have no drama, you have no questions. You are just here now, feeling the vast openness of your wide open nature, the infinite boundless being, ever present to itself, knowing itself, and in the knowing of itself, this brilliant, radiant, shining, holy light, holy, holy light. Is it inside? Is it outside? Is there any difference? How profound to be sitting on the seat. Everything around you looks exactly the same, and yet you are in the deep landscape of consciousness, clear seeing that who you are is not the person, that you are the divine presence of your very own self. Still, silent, unmoving, unchanging, utter freedom. It is not an experience, it is before experience. This knowing of yourself does not come and go. It is personhood that is the experience. Here is not an experience that the person is having. This is the end of experience. You are here, now, ever present, never moving, never changing. Feel where the knowing of this is. Let the confirmation be in the innermost being, in the silence, like a roaring, silent yes. You are without limits, uncontained, immaculate, pure, innocent being. Ocean of bliss. Bliss is not a mood that comes and goes. Bliss is the simple peace, deep, peaceful contentedness in its subtlety can feel ecstatic. In its subtlety, it does not dance in a crude way. In its subtlety, it is ecstatic. It is the aliveness of your knowing as it deepens into knowing, knowing, unquestionably knowing, falling into the subtlety, the fine feeling. There is an aliveness, a blissful aliveness, a felt sense that if this was your final moment, it is perfect. If this is your final moment, it's perfect. You die into truth. You die into love. This is your last moment as someone. Feel that it is perfection and fall into the surrender, out of the illusion of separation and into the pure, immaculate, divine being that is ever whole, eternal, timeless, infinite, unbounded. Remember the glory of your immaculate nature. Remember this flow of devotion pulling you deeper and deeper into yourself. Only this perfect moment, utter holiness, silent being, God's love, God's happiness. To feel the deep nourishment of being, the deep nourishment of the resonance of truth inside, as there is an aligning with the truth of who you are. You are being restructured, recalibrated, filled with light essence. Finer and finer frequencies are able to come forward so that the knowing of who you are deepens. So much of what is experienced by most on the surface of life as struggle and challenge is purifying the heart and mind. It is purifying the denser layers. As the denser layers are purified, you come to an ability to feel more. You feel more joy and more gorgeousness and love, and you feel more of the resistances and pain and challenges. But as you feel your way through all of this, the most important part that is the grace is that you are thawing out, you are melting, and the ability to feel is getting finer, because there is the requirement of finer and finer subtlety of feeling to be able to go through feeling my pain and my struggle to feeling the subtlety of being, right? So we're preoccupied with the surface of life, but it's attuning us to be able to feel more deeply, to have more sensitivity, right? What we notice as more sensitivity is that our systems are being refined and cultured, and we are able to feel more, but we are also able to receive more of our true divine nature, right? So we're being cultured, we're being purified, but it's not a process in time for the mind to get hold of, well, I need to do all this work before. No, no, no. That's the concept. Doesn't work like that. It's immediate, here, now, always, only now. Whatever's happening in the now, it's the utter openness to whatever is here without resistance that allows this refining and culturing. It purifies all of the discordant patterns that pull the attention to the surface of life, starts to clear all of that discordant, dense layers so that we can live more deeply. When we don't have all the distractions of the my needs and my desires and my life, we're living more deeply. What is living is life itself. And then we can even go deeper to say it's the divine life living itself. So we're deepening and deepening in. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is outside of wholeness, right? And what we're speaking of is wide awakeness right here, whatever life is bringing forward, right? So we're speaking now to bring what we are speaking of as the vast infinite, that it's not abstract, right? We can fall into the transcendent and it can feel very abstract, but it's right here. There's nothing here that is not the divine, that is not God. It's all there is. It's not God's creation, it's God, right? There's nothing, there's no layers of removal from. It's all there is. It's the immediacy. And we're in the process of coming to a subtlety of feeling, an openness, a reverence, a depth, where the knowing of this allows us to receive the clear seeing that there is only God, right? So in a way, it seems like we fall through layers. We could say it's like the density is being sifted, it's being alchemized, refined, it's being purified, finer, 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 right? Every being is undergoing this incredible, miraculous transformation. Whether you recognize it or not, it's happening. The more that we come to being and we start to feel the subtleties, the fineness of feeling, we start feeling the aliveness of the intelligence. In the emptiness, true wisdom comes in. Though true wisdom is intelligence. And intelligence is read in the being, in the clear seeing, right? None of this is of the mind. So the pointing to it is so that where you're noticing these subtleties, that it stabilizes the subtleties of reading intelligence, trusting your reading of intelligence, your reading of the field. It's not someone, it's not a mind, it's in the being, it's the consciousness consciously aware of itself and reading itself. And it's not a linear unfolding, but we have to refine and refine and refine, right? So we can recognize where we get distracted by the dense layers. Those dense layers are just being refined. At some point, we won't be distracted by those dense layers anymore. We get refined, and then we're meeting more and more subtle ways that life plays itself out. The first layer creates a sense of separation. It's very clear. Either you're in separation or you're in freedom. There's much more subtlety to it, but on the denser layers, that frequency, either you're free or you seem to be bound. No gray area, one or the other, no question, right? In the moment, in the moment, in the moment, right? So you can know the truth of who you are, but in the moment you can be playing out the story of separation, but you know who you are. When you know who you are, you have the possibility to free yourself in the moment and refine, refine, refine in the moment, right? So on the densest surface layer, the illusion just, it's like a Maya, right? It's like a fog. You're either in it or you're out of it. As we come to these more subtle layers, you don't leave yourself, and there's still life living itself and refinement happening and fine feelings being transmuted and processed. Sometimes there might be reaction, but not always, right? On the denser layer, reaction is much more immediate. But we develop this dispassion and we are able to hold a depth of presence more and more. We're getting refined, right? So then we know there's no separation, but still stuff is playing through. We're refining. We don't leave the knowing of the being, and yet there's like a dance that is ongoing, a refining. It's bringing us into a deeper knowing of unity. And we get finer and finer, right? Where we're not playing in that field anymore. We go beyond consciousness. We go before consciousness. And now we know only the oneness, Brahman. We know only God. Here still refinement happens. Sometimes the most intense stuff comes the deeper that we go in, because it has to be cleared. There can't be anything left here. So we know that whatever is happening, but there's no one with needs trying to be met. And here the surrender, here the submission, the deepening, right? And we go in, and we go in, and we go in. And the deeper that we go in, eventually, any sense of personal, of course, at a certain level, all sense of personal disappears. We know it's impersonal. Right? We know it's impersonal, but it can have a subtle flavor to segue us into the impersonal, so that we're still moving and transmuting for the collective, right? So we're still moving and transmuting, and we have to be in the vast openness of being for this to be able to move and flow with grace and ease. We're refining, we're refining, we're refining. And we go deeper, and we go deeper, and we go deeper, and we go deeper. And as we go deeper, the submission, in and in and in to the divine, into the divine. So we are always in service, but our service gets deeper, deeper, deeper. Where there's only one, there's not someone in service. Where there's only one, there's just the flow of divine life living itself, in service to itself, we could say. So what we're speaking of, it's not abstract. It's not abstract. It's reality. It's reality. It's truth. It's the one truth. It's the supreme reality. It's life as it really is, underneath that surface layer. And at the same time, yes, that surface layer, that too is God. That too is the mother, of course. But we don't want to get stuck on the surface in concepts where we're living as a doer. We're living in illusion, and we're saying to ourselves, oh, well, it's just God, it's just God, it's just God. Because then we're not free, right? It's important. Don't get lost in concepts. Yeah. Keep coming to the being, to the being, to the being, to the being. Be yourself, be yourself, be yourself. Refining, 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 ever deepening in, ever deeper in devotion, ever deepening surrender, ever deepening in the knowing, ever deepening in the knowing of the divine, ever falling into Ma, ever falling in to the divine holiness. Utter submission, utter submission. Thy will be done. Even deeper, even deeper. Who could say that? Just what is, just what is. Falling in, falling in, falling in. Into the now, into the surrender, into the ever deepening letting go, into the glory, the great glory.